Slow down to notice small moments is one of the most overlooked yet powerful practices in creating meaning in our daily routines. We live in a world that constantly tells us to move faster, to do more, to accomplish everything at lightning speed. In this constant rush, we forget that life is happening right now in the very moment we are trying to push through. Slowing down doesn't mean stopping your progress. It means choosing to notice the beauty and significance in the present. It's about realizing that your life is not waiting for you at some distant finish line, but unfolding in the small, ordinary details every single day. When we allow ourselves to pause, even briefly, we begin to see the richness that was always there, but often invisible to us. Think about the first sip of coffee in the morning, the sunlight falling through your window, or the way someone greets you with a smile. These are not insignificant details, but pieces of meaning scattered throughout your day, waiting for you to notice them. By slowing down, you give yourself permission to fully experience these moments rather than rushing past them in pursuit of the next thing. It is in these pauses that joy and gratitude take root, giving your life a deeper sense of purpose. Many people believe that slowing down is a luxury reserved for vacations or special occasions, but the truth is it is a daily choice. It doesn't require hours of free time. Sometimes it's just about taking a deep breath before answering an email or listening fully when someone speaks. These tiny decisions allow us to move from autopilot living to intentional living. Instead of sleepwalking through routines, we wake up to the details that make life beautiful. In slowing down, we also reconnect with ourselves, noticing our thoughts, feelings, and needs rather than suppressing them beneath endless activity. Slowing down also helps us resist the culture of comparison and achievement that often steals meaning from our lives. When we are constantly chasing productivity, we measure our worth by how much we accomplish compared to others. This leaves little room for noticing the unique beauty of our own journey. But when we pause, even briefly, we stop competing and start connecting. We realize that meaning is not found in doing more than the person next to us, but in noticing the small, personal joys and values that make our lives uniquely ours. Slowing down becomes an act of reclaiming our worth and honoring our humanity. Another powerful aspect of slowing down is how it deepens our relationships. When we are in a rush, we skim over conversations, multitask while listening, and miss the subtle cues that others are sharing. But when we pause to really be present, our connections become richer. Looking into someone's eyes, listening without distractions, or simply sharing a quiet moment together can create more meaning than any grand gesture. The gift of presence is one of the most profound ways to bring significance into both our lives and the lives of others, and it begins with slowing down. This practice also allows us to appreciate progress rather than constantly striving for the next milestone. In our pursuit of future goals, we often overlook how far we've already come. Slowing down gives us the chance to acknowledge our efforts, celebrate small victories, and be grateful for the lessons we are learning. Instead of waiting for one big moment to feel proud or fulfilled, we create meaning along the way by recognizing the growth hidden in everyday steps. This not only boosts motivation, but also fosters a sense of contentment right where we are. Most importantly, slowing down is an invitation to align our lives with what truly matters. When we are rushing, we fill our schedules with tasks that may not reflect our values, but when we pause and notice, we become more intentional in how we spend our time. We ask ourselves, is this bringing me joy? Is this aligned with my values? Does this nourish my soul or drain my energy? These questions help us strip away the noise and focus on the small daily actions that make life meaningful. It is in the stillness that we find clarity, and it is in clarity that we create lives filled with significance. Aligning daily actions with personal values is one of the most powerful ways to bring meaning into our lives. Too often, we drift through our routines on autopilot, doing what is expected rather than what feels true to us. This leaves us feeling disconnected and unfulfilled, even when our schedules are packed with activities. But when we let our values guide us, every choice carries a deeper sense of purpose. It is not about doing more, but about doing what matters most to our hearts. Living by values requires us to first identify what those values are. Many people have never taken the time to ask themselves what they truly stand for. Is it compassion, courage, authenticity, kindness, or growth? When we take time to define what we believe in, we create a compass that points us toward a meaningful life. Without this compass, it's easy to get lost in distractions, but with it, even ordinary tasks can feel extraordinary. Knowing your values gives every action a sense of direction and weight. Once we know our values, the real practice begins in our daily routines. If compassion is one of your values, then it might shape the way you greet your family in the morning or how you respond to a coworker's struggles. If courage is a value, you might push yourself to speak up in meetings or take a step toward a dream that scares you. These small, consistent actions turn values from abstract ideas into lived experiences. Our routines stop being just habits and become expressions of who we are. When we live disconnected from our values, we often feel a quiet emptiness. We may accomplish tasks, but something feels missing because our actions don't reflect what we truly care about. That misalignment creates stress, frustration, and a sense that life lacks meaning. On the other hand, when our routines reflect our values, even the simplest actions feel fulfilling. Washing the dishes, making a phone call, or completing a task at work can feel significant because they are tied to something bigger than the task itself. Living by values also requires courage because it often means going against the grain of cultural expectations. Society may tell us to value wealth, status, or appearance, but our hearts might value kindness, creativity, or love. Choosing to live by our true values means sometimes disappointing others or saying no to things that don't fit. This is not easy, but it is deeply rewarding. Each act of alignment builds integrity, and integrity creates meaning that no external reward can provide. Another important aspect is consistency. Values are not meant to show up only in big moments or major decisions. They are meant to shape the ordinary flow of daily life. Being kind once in a while does not create as much meaning as weaving kindness into every interaction you can. Living with authenticity once a year won't change your life, but choosing to be authentic every day will. Meaning is built not in grand gestures, but in the steady rhythm of small, value-driven choices. Aligning actions with values also brings clarity during difficult times. Life is filled with uncertainty and challenges, and when we don't know what to do, our values act as a guide. If honesty is your value, you know the choice is to speak truthfully. If family is your value, you know to prioritize their needs when making decisions. This clarity reduces confusion and helps us stand firm in who we are, even when life feels chaotic. In moments of struggle, values become the anchor that keeps us grounded. Finally, living with values transforms not only our own lives, but the lives of those around us. When people see you consistently act in alignment with what you believe, they feel trust, respect, and inspiration. Your life becomes a quiet but powerful message that meaning is possible in everyday routines. Whether it's through kindness, courage, or integrity, your actions ripple outward and create impact. The world doesn't need perfection. It needs people willing to live authentically by their values, one choice at a time. Embracing vulnerability is one of the most transformative ways to bring depth and meaning into our daily lives. So often, we are taught to hide our weaknesses, mask our fears, and present only the strongest version of ourselves. This constant armor may protect us from judgment, but it also blocks us from genuine connection. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open the door to authenticity, love, and trust. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is the courage to show up as we truly are. Everyday routines present countless opportunities to practice vulnerability if we are willing to notice them. It might mean admitting to a friend that you're struggling instead of pretending everything is fine. It could mean sharing an idea at work even though you're unsure of how it will be received. Vulnerability is woven into small, ordinary choices that invite honesty over performance. These moments, though uncomfortable, create genuine meaning because they are rooted in truth. When we drop the mask, we give others permission to do the same. The resistance to vulnerability often comes from fear of rejection, failure, or being misunderstood. But avoiding vulnerability doesn't eliminate that fear. It only deepens our isolation. We may appear strong on the outside while quietly battling loneliness or shame on the inside. The irony is that the very thing we run from is what we need most. Vulnerability is the bridge that closes the gap between us and others, creating relationships filled with authenticity instead of performance. When we bring vulnerability into our daily routines, even simple interactions become richer. Instead of rushing through conversations with surface-level politeness, we allow honesty and empathy to guide us. Telling a loved one that you're tired, asking for help when you're overwhelmed, or admitting that you don't know the answer. These small acts invite intimacy. They transform routines into moments of connection that give our days meaning. Vulnerability turns ordinary exchanges into opportunities for love and trust to grow. Vulnerability also plays a vital role in creativity and growth. Every time we try something new, share a dream, or take a risk, we step into the unknown, and that is inherently vulnerable. Without vulnerability, we remain stuck in safe but stagnant routines that rob life of excitement. By daring to be seen and to risk failure, we open ourselves to possibility and discovery. Meaning comes not from staying safe, but from leaning into uncertainty with courage. Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, growth, and joy. Another powerful truth about vulnerability is that it creates resilience. Many people believe resilience comes from never being shaken, but in reality, it comes from allowing ourselves to feel. When we let ourselves experience disappointment, grief, or failure without numbing them, we discover that we can survive and rise stronger. Avoiding vulnerability weakens us, but embracing it builds inner strength. Our routines gain meaning when we stop pretending everything is perfect and instead honor the full range of human experience. Vulnerability also deepens our understanding of self-compassion. When we're willing to admit our imperfections, we learn to treat ourselves with kindness rather than harsh judgment. Daily routines then become a place where we practice patience with ourselves instead of constant criticism, whether it's forgiving ourselves for a mistake at work or giving ourselves permission to rest. Vulnerability teaches us to extend grace inward. This self-compassion spills outward, allowing us to extend that same grace to others. In this way, vulnerability nurtures both personal meaning and collective connection. At its core, embracing vulnerability in daily life is about choosing authenticity over perfection. It's about realizing that meaning is not found in a flawless image, but in the courage to live wholeheartedly. When we let ourselves be seen, we discover that connection, love, and purpose are born from our willingness to be real. Each vulnerable moment, no matter how small, becomes a thread that weaves deeper meaning into our routines. It is through vulnerability that life stops being a performance and starts being a genuine, meaningful experience. Practicing daily gratitude is one of the simplest yet most profound ways to create meaning in our routines. Gratitude shifts our perspective from scarcity to abundance and from focusing on what we lack to noticing what we already have. It teaches us to pause in the middle of ordinary days and recognize that even the smallest things are gifts. Gratitude doesn't require grand gestures or perfect circumstances. It thrives in simplicity. By weaving gratitude into daily life, we transform ordinary routines into meaningful rituals. One of the most powerful aspects of gratitude is its ability to change how we see challenges. Life will always present difficulties, but gratitude gives us the strength to face them differently. Instead of being consumed by what's going wrong, We learn to notice what's still going right. Even in the darkest times, there are often glimmers of hope if we choose to see them. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it allows us to hold on to light even when things feel heavy. Gratitude also connects us to the present moment in a world that constantly pushes us toward the future. Many of us are always chasing the next achievement, the next success, or the next milestone, thinking happiness lies there. But when we pause to be grateful, we realize that joy is available here and now. Gratitude anchors us to the moment we're living instead of the one we're chasing. This presence infuses our routines with meaning because it reminds us life is happening right now. Daily gratitude is most powerful when practiced consistently in small ways. Writing down 3 things you're thankful for before bed, or naming one blessing while sipping your morning coffee, can transform your mindset. These practices don't take much time, but they shape the way you view your entire day. Over time, gratitude becomes a habit, and the brain begins to naturally focus on what is good. This shift allows meaning to grow in the ordinary flow of life. Gratitude also strengthens our relationships by helping us see and acknowledge the good in others. It's easy to take the people closest to us for granted, especially in the business of daily routines. But expressing gratitude for their presence, kindness, or support deepens connection and trust. A simple thank you or acknowledgement can transform how both you and the other person feel. A gratitude creates a cycle of appreciation that adds significance to everyday interactions. Another essential part of gratitude is that it reduces comparison. In a culture that constantly tells us to measure our worth against others, it's easy to feel like we don't have enough. Gratitude interrupts that cycle by reminding us of what is already here. Instead of looking outward for validation, we turn inward to appreciate the blessings in our own lives. This shift removes pressure and allows us to find meaning in our unique journey. Gratitude helps us celebrate what's ours instead of longing for what isn't. Gratitude also teaches us to value the ordinary moments we might otherwise overlook. The sound of laughter, a warm meal, or a quiet walk can become deeply meaningful when viewed through the lens of appreciation. These moments often pass unnoticed when we're focused on what's missing or what's next. But gratitude highlights them, turning daily routines into sacred experiences. By noticing what we already have, we begin to see that meaning has been surrounding us all along. Perhaps the most beautiful truth about gratitude is that it grows when shared. Expressing thankfulness to others creates a ripple effect that spreads positivity and meaning far beyond ourselves. Whether it's writing a note of appreciation, offering a kind word, or simply pausing to acknowledge someone's effort, gratitude connects us more deeply to the world around us. When we choose gratitude daily, we not only enrich our own routines, but also inspire others to find meaning in theirs. In this way, gratitude becomes both personal practice and collective gift. Setting boundaries and honoring rest is an essential practice for creating meaning in daily life. Too often, we confuse business with purpose and believe that saying yes to everything makes us valuable. In reality, it leaves us drained, resentful, and disconnected from what matters most. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are doors that protect our energy and direct it where it is needed most. When we learn to set boundaries, we create space for meaning instead of exhaustion. Boundaries begin with the courage to say no. Many people feel guilty for turning down requests, fearing it makes them selfish or unkind. But saying yes to everything often means saying no to ourselves, our families, or our health. A meaningful life cannot thrive when we are constantly overcommitted and overwhelmed. Every no to what doesn't align with our values is a yes to what does. Boundaries help us live with intention rather than obligation. Rest is equally important because it allows us to recharge and return to life with presence and energy. Our culture often glorifies exhaustion as a badge of honor, but running on empty only diminishes our ability to live fully. True meaning requires us to show up wholeheartedly, and that is impossible without rest. Sleep, stillness, and pauses throughout the day are not weaknesses, but sources of strength. By honoring rest, we remind ourselves that we are human beings, not machines. When we honor rest, our daily routines shift from frantic survival to mindful living. Taking breaks to breathe, stretch, or reflect may feel small, but they restore clarity and focus. Rest allows us to be present in conversations instead of distracted, creative instead of depleted, and joyful instead of irritable. Far from wasting time, rest gives time back by making our efforts more meaningful. Without it, even the most significant goals lose their joy. Boundaries and rest also protect our relationships. When we overextend ourselves, we often show up tired, resentful, or distracted, which diminishes connection. But when we guard our energy and prioritize recovery, we can give others the best version of ourselves. Meaning grows not from doing more, but from being fully present in the moments we share. Boundaries allow us to love more deeply because we're not giving from a place of emptiness. Rest allows us to connect from a place of fullness. Another key truth is that boundaries are acts of self-respect. When we tolerate constant overwork or allow others to drain us, we send ourselves the message that our needs don't matter. But when we set limits, we affirm our worth and teach others how to treat us. This isn't about selfishness. It's about honoring our humanity. A meaningful life requires respecting our limits and choosing what nourishes us. Boundaries create the structure that supports our values in everyday life. Honoring rest also teaches us to embrace stillness, which is often where meaning reveals itself. In the quiet moments, sitting with a cup of tea, taking a walk, or lying down without distractions, we reconnect with ourselves. These pauses give us space to reflect on what truly matters rather than rushing blindly through tasks. Stillness clears the noise and allows gratitude, creativity, and clarity to emerge. By choosing rest, we create room for our souls to breathe and our lives to align. Ultimately, setting boundaries and honoring rest reminds us that life is not about how much we do, but about how fully we live. When we protect our time and energy, we create space for presence, joy, and connection. When we rest, we return to life renewed, able to experience meaning in both small routines and big moments. Boundaries give shape to our lives, and rest fills them with vitality. Together, they transform our days from busy schedules into intentional, meaningful experiences. Turning routines into rituals is one of the most powerful ways to bring deeper meaning into daily life. A routine is something we do automatically, often without much thought or presence, while a ritual transforms that same action into something intentional. The difference lies not in what we do, but in how we choose to do it. Brushing your teeth, drinking coffee, or going for a walk may seem ordinary, but with mindfulness, they become sacred moments. Rituals remind us that meaning isn't found only in big milestones, but in everyday practices. The act of turning a routine into a ritual begins with awareness. Instead of rushing through your morning coffee, pause to notice the warmth of the mug, the aroma rising from it, and the comfort it brings. This awareness shifts the act from mindless consumption to mindful appreciation. It's the same with preparing a meal, tucking in your child at night, or journaling before bed. When we approach these routines with presence, they carry emotional and spiritual weight. Meaning is created by the attention we bring to the moment. Rituals also give us stability and grounding in a world that often feels chaotic. When life is uncertain, small rituals provide comfort and continuity. Lighting a candle before starting work, practicing gratitude before sleep, or taking a few deep breaths before a meeting becomes an anchor in the storm. These moments remind us that we can create order and calm even in the midst of unpredictability. By elevating routines into rituals, we cultivate a sense of security and peace. Another benefit of rituals is that they connect us to our values and intentions. A routine might be exercising because it's expected, but a ritual is exercising as a way of honoring your health and strength. A routine might be sending a quick text to a friend, but a ritual is writing it with genuine care and presence. Rituals infuse our daily actions with the why behind them. When our routines are aligned with intention, every small act becomes a reflection of our values. Rituals also help us slow down and savor life instead of rushing through it. In a society that glorifies speed and multitasking, rituals invite us to pause. Folding laundry can become an act of gratitude for the clothes we have. Washing dishes can be a moment of reflection instead of just another task. By turning routines into rituals, we reclaim time not by doing less, but by experiencing more in what we already do. These shifts allow life to feel fuller and more meaningful. Creating rituals doesn't mean adding more to an already busy day. It means transforming what we're already doing. The beauty is that the simplest acts can become rituals when done with presence and care. Drinking water can be a ritual of nurturing your body. Walking to work can be a ritual of reflection and gratitude. Even breathing can be a ritual when used to ground and center yourself. Rituals invite us to find significance in what already exists around us. Rituals also strengthen connection with others. Family traditions, shared meals, or bedtime routines become sacred not because of their complexity, but because of their consistency and meaning. When we gather around a table, pause to express gratitude or share stories, these moments become threads that bind relationships together. Routines can often feel like chores, but rituals create connection, memory, and belonging. They remind us that meaning is amplified when shared. At their core, rituals are about choosing intention over autopilot living. They help us step out of the rush of productivity and into the richness of presence. By elevating our routines into rituals, we discover that every day already holds opportunities for joy, gratitude, and connection. The power to create meaning is not found in extraordinary circumstances, but in ordinary actions transformed by intention. When routines become rituals, life stops being something we endure and becomes something we cherish. Prioritizing connection is one of the most meaningful choices we can make in our daily lives. Human beings are wired for belonging, yet so often we let business and distractions take priority over relationships. We rush through conversations, glance at our phones during meals, or assume people will always be there when we finally have time. But connection does not happen by accident. It happens when we make it a priority. When we choose to show up fully for others, our routines gain a depth that tasks alone cannot provide. Connection begins with presence. It's not enough to simply be physically near someone if our minds are elsewhere. True presence means putting aside distractions and giving our full attention to the person in front of us. It means listening not just to respond, but to truly understand. Even a few minutes of undivided attention can make someone feel seen and valued. When we bring this level of presence into our daily routines, every interaction becomes an opportunity to build meaning. Prioritizing connection also requires vulnerability because real relationships cannot thrive on surface-level exchanges. It takes courage to share our fears, our struggles, or even our hopes with others. Yet it is in this honesty that bonds are deepened. When we allow ourselves to be real, we create space for others to be real too. Daily life offers countless chances to practice this, whether in a brief check-in with a friend or a heartfelt conversation with family. Vulnerability turns connection into something lasting and significant. Connection is also strengthened by small, intentional gestures. It's easy to think meaning only comes from grand acts, but often it's the little things that matter most. A kind word, a thoughtful message, or a shared laugh can brighten someone's day. When we build these gestures into our routines, they become a steady source of meaning. The truth is, people rarely remember the details of our schedules, but they always remember how we made them feel. Choosing kindness daily transforms lives. Another key aspect of connection is consistency. Relationships grow when nurtured regularly, not only in moments of crisis or celebration. Making time each day to check in, share a meal, or simply be together weaves strong bonds over time. Just as small drops of water fill a jar, consistent acts of connection fill our lives with meaning. Even when life feels overwhelming, prioritizing a few moments of connection keeps relationships alive and strong. These consistent choices shape the foundation of belonging. Connection also requires us to slow down and notice the people around us. Too often, we treat those closest to us as part of the background of our busy routines. But when we pause to appreciate them, we realize the gift of their presence. Expressing gratitude, offering a hug, or saying, "I love you," can turn ordinary moments into sacred ones. By noticing and valuing the people in our lives, we remind them and ourselves that they matter deeply. Connection grows through acknowledgement and appreciation. Prioritizing connection also brings meaning to our communities, not just our personal relationships. Smiling at a stranger, holding the door open, or showing compassion to someone in need strengthens the fabric of humanity. When we choose to engage instead of withdraw, we contribute to a culture of belonging. These small acts ripple outward, reminding us that meaning is not limited to our private lives, but extends into the larger world. Daily routines become powerful when they include kindness to others. At its heart, prioritizing connection is about remembering that relationships are what give life its depth. Success, productivity, and accomplishments may bring temporary satisfaction, but it is love, trust, and belonging that sustain us. When we intentionally choose to connect with presence, vulnerability, and kindness, we fill our routines with meaning. Every interaction becomes a chance to affirm our shared humanity. Connection does not require more time, just more intention, and it is in those intentional choices that true meaning is created.